What's up, guys? I hope you're having a great night. And today I want to do energetic weather. And really, it's not for today or tomorrow. It's really for the next 5 days while we're in gate 1 and 2. And gate 1 is in the sun, 2 is in the earth. These are actually my sun and earth gates on my chart. They're just reversed. So my sun is in gate 2, which is the receptive, and my earth, my receptivity, is grounded in gate 1, which is the creative. And it's funny because I sat here and I was struggling to get it out, to get out what I wanted to say. And I think so much of that has to do with my funny design and the way life has always worked for me. Because in terms of my design, I'm an ego manifestor. And that basically means that manifestors, we can initiate. We can initiate through informing, letting people know what's going on, what we're doing, and then things can kind of start happening from there. And that for me is something for sure I have seen in my life. I think I could even say that I have manifested things before. Hey, Teresa, what's up? It's great to see you. But it's funny because in my life, I feel like while I might get what I want, it's usually not the how. And a lot of times I don't end up getting what I want. But it always seems to make sense by the time the thing is done. It's like I might go into something with expectations and not have those expectations met, but at the end I see why I really went into the thing, And so I think that creation, being a creator, being a manifestor, can be a very complicated thing. And I think that receiving and, taking life in, I think that can be a complicated thing. And at the end of the day, I think that creation is independent of will. I think that creation is not about what we want. It is about where we're going, like as a totality. And I think that it's really interesting with gate 2, which is the receptive. That is the only gate that gives direction. So the creative, the creator, this is not the gate that gives direction. This is the gate that pushes out what has been received. And so all creation is dependent upon what has been received. And I think that this is so much the reason why the receptive is the driver. And so it's funny. I'm going to kind of go through these gates and I'll share some of my own personal experiences with these energies. And they're primal, it's the yin and the yang that we're talking about here. So forgive me on these two like mysterious energies that are like my main energies. So gate 1, this is originality and creation. That is individual, that is about your individual self. So the I, the ego, and the self are kind of two different things. And the ego always wants to take claims on what happens. It wants to be like, I did that. That happened because I learned this and because I did it like this. And if you just do it just like me, it'll happen for you too. But the problem is that isn't necessarily true for anything. And while we can give direction based on what has happened for us, that doesn't mean that it's going to happen for another or that it's right for them to do. It's like someone with a peanut allergy. I can teach them how to eat peanuts, but the question is that right for them to do? Will they get the same result as me? Do I know that they're going to get the same result as me? Do I even know that they have an allergy? And so I think such an important part of creation and receiving is discovering for yourself your personal right and wrong. Is this correct for me to do? Does this feel personally right for me? Does this feel wrong for me? And allowing that to be different. Because so much of being a creator is just living life as yourself. Letting people see you live. Responding to the things that happen. Because in that response, as we're receiving life, we can respond to it and change or mutate and transcend the limitation, at any point in time. And if that change is what we're calling creation, it is in response. And it is about your personal life. And so it's such a funny place. And so it's really about expressing yourself, being yourself, creating. Maybe the most basic way to think about creativity is with art. And so a great way to think about the creator creating based on what's been received is to think about a kindergarten class. And they're given red paint and they're told to paint a picture. What color is their picture going to be? You know, it's like they only received red. And so their creation is limited by what they have received. What they know is also limited by what they have received. And that's none of their faults. It might not be the teacher's fault that she only has red. It might not be the school's fault that it only has red. And so that's a funny place to look at too. And so I think that so much of that living as yourself and just doing your best with what's right in front of you, you know, it's living your becoming, because we are changing. You know, it's the only constant. We are adapting and changing. We're becoming, and just getting out there in front of people, being that becoming, being okay with uncertainty, being okay with not knowing, and just living. I truly think at the base of things, that is the direction, that is the creativity. And so it's a deep impulse. It's like a deep personal impulse. It's like on, off, this creativity coming out, the things that you can make, the solutions that you have to offer, the limitations that you can transcend. It's like sometimes it's just not there. Sometimes that voice is gone. Sometimes you need someone else to make the thing, and you share that. And so that can be a funny time too. And as long as we can allow ourselves as creative people to let it be there when it is and let it not be there when it's not, then it can always be okay. And you don't have to force it when it's not there. It's also completely new. It's like these new things that are brought in, this creation. You know, I could even call myself creation, new creation, these new unique things, you know, they're uncomparable. So that's another thing about creativity. It's never about being the best or competing with anyone. It's just about becoming. So my life has helped me become this, and I'm going to be that. And as I'm that, I'm going to become, and I'm going to become, and I'm going to become. And just allowing that. And as you discover your differences coming out, you're allowing that. And you're like, oh, you know, maybe this is a new part of myself. Maybe this is a new interest. Maybe this is a new friend. And you're letting all of that be okay. And, you know, it can be hard as an individual. Maybe the people around you don't see the things that you're doing, your interests, your people. Maybe people aren't seeing those things as okay. But what I'm here to tell you is that you simply can't care. You know, like, you have to let your experience show you what's right for you. And if you can do that and move with that, you'll be moved away from what's not right anymore. And that doesn't mean that it wasn't right when it was right, you know? So if you honor yourself, you will be moved to better things that fit your becoming more. And so it's also about timing and movement. You know, I think so much of creation, it's not just about me. You know, like the things that I do and say and create, they're also for others. And this creation, you know, for example, I'm totally blanking on the name. Well, and really, I can look at the whole scientific spectrum, and I can tell you that a lot of discoveries and breakthroughs come as a result of falling asleep in the bathtub, meditating, closing your eyes. You know, it's like these two gates right here, they can really show you the value of knowing over knowledge. They can really show you the value of that inner connection with life that can tell you what's going on. You know, this higher primal thing. And so when we watch that happen, you know, it's like, I think it's so easy for us to be like, oh, this knowledge is why. But really, maybe it's just the timing. Maybe it's time for that vaccine maker to create that vaccine. And, you know, when it's created, it's new. It can't even be compared. It's like, oh my gosh, we have this new thing. As it goes from being individual to collective, you'll watch that vaccine get pulled into all these clinical trials, and now it's being changed and trialed, and now we can compare it. Now we can say, oh, this one sucks and this one's great and we should make them more like this, you know. But like when that first breakthrough happens, when that new creation is here, there's not even anything to compare it to. You know, and I think the one I'm thinking of specifically is Marie Curie. And I think she won a Nobel Prize, but I'm not sure. I'll comment it later. And I think it's so cool that so much of the discoveries and the scientific process can happen kind of like in a mystical way, and not based on what we've been told, you know, but based on what we know and our unique direction, where we're going, what we've learned from our experiences, and what we have to offer from them. And so let's see, change and mutation, this creation, it can transcend limitation. And I think, if we're going to look at the whole manifestation industry, when you've got your mindset on something and you're like, I can do this, I know I can do this, it's like, I think there is some type of value there because you're focused on transcending the problems in front of you. And if mutation is bigger than the limitations, as long as you can be like, oh, I've got this roadblock here, that's okay. I know I'll get through it. You don't even need to know the how. You just need to know that life's working with you and life will give you the thing. Life will tell you how to change or what to bring in or what to do in order to get past that roadblock, because this change, this creation, it trumps any of the roadblocks that could possibly, stand in your way. And it's funny because there's a little piece in there that you have to recognize problem. You have to accept it. You have to see, oh, it's there. I don't know, but I know that it'll be okay. I think that acceptance piece is a big piece of the manifestation as well. And I think that that's such like a blurry place for a lot of people, especially with all of the secret, like the secret and we're visualizing and doing all the things. It's like, this is such a blurry area right now. What's up, Amunta? Hey, Clemente. Hey, how's it going? Okay, so let's see. Unique direction is not about willpower. It's about your life. It's about what you've received, where you've been, who you've been there with, what has happened. And I think direction is really what is happening. And as we look at what is happening, it's like as we move into gate 2, which is the receptive, perspective and direction are two different things. I feel like direction is what is happening. Direction is where I'm being moved to. It's where I'm going. And it's like perspective is how what is happening is seen and shared. And it's almost like we can look at anything and call it a beautiful tragedy and kind of like eliminate the whole perspective dance, because we can see anything in any perspective, in any light, and we're all here to see everything differently. And so I feel like you can completely divorce perspective and direction altogether, and I think that direction continues to happen regardless of perspectives on it, which is very interesting. And so let's see, time is everything. This change follows its own law. You have to wait for it, and there's nothing you can do. That's why creation is independent of will. It's like when I discovered the shift inside of myself, I knew I didn't know what was going on or how to communicate it or how I was going to help people through it or how I was going to help people discover their differences. And it's like, there's a natural timing to it. It's bigger than me, and you kind of wait. And in that waiting, you get everything that you need for when it starts. And you're gaining this information. Life is showing you what it is. And it's like that right there to me is one of the most important parts of creation. And if I honor that time, the creation will do its thing. And not only that, I'll be prepared by the time that I get there. And so that being independent of will, I think that place right there is a place like, do I know when enough is enough? Is this really for me? Am I resisting what's actually happening? Am I trying to do something that's not gonna unfold, and those are real good and hard questions, because at the end of the day, it's not bad to give up on the wrong thing. It's not. And you're the only one that could ever know what that thing is, like what is right and wrong for you personally. And so this is very attractive and attention getting. And also creativity wants to unfold on its own accord. It doesn't want to necessarily be about recognition or money. But honestly, I think that recognition and money, those can be things that closely follow creativity. And so there's the creative, moving on to the receptive. This is my sun gate. This is higher knowing. This is the direction of the self. And this is the gate of like your higher self. It's like the gate of the driver or the magnetic monopole. And so in human design, we have this thing called a magnetic monopole. And it's basically a one-way magnet. It maybe works by gravity, but it basically like attracts our life to us, our life path. And this thing, we're not aware. We don't know where it's taking us. We are here to watch where it takes us. Wow, and it's like, if we can put our trust in that thing, It'll take us and we will watch, and then we don't have to put so much pressure and stress and blame and shame and all these things on us. And it's like when I'm talking to people about, the law of attraction or manifestation, this is the real manifestor to me. This thing inside of you that does it all naturally and, on its own without any type of mental effort or anything like that. And maybe we could say that it attracts what's coming to you based on your holistic frequency. So are you embodied? Are you a two-engine airplane? Do you have the mental cognition? You've got your body cognition, and you are moving through life with a holistic frequency, right? I think something that we're trying to do right now is that we're trying to get in the body. We're trying to stop being so dissociated and disconnected, and we're trying to get in the body and feel these things and become aware on the inside, organize ourselves in there and try to come to some understanding, about the truth of who we are. And maybe that's happening as a product of the shift and it being inner truth time. We all have the opportunity to find these higher levels of inner truth right now. And so receiving provides the means to find a way through life that is in accord with and guided by the higher self. So receiving, like what you receive, determining your next move. And I think that's beautiful. I've always seen it that way. And I think that's why this gate is the driver, because it doesn't get in itself about what's happening. It doesn't make conditioning or what it's told more important than what has happened in its own experience or what it has received. And so I love that. I love that our direction comes from the yin, the receiver. And so this is like a natural connection to the unseen. It can be like an inexplicable inner guidance, and it keeps us separate and together. This is what the monopole does, So it's like at the end of the day, when I was a kid, I told everyone, we are all one. We are all one. All you have to do is just be with the person right in front of you, because we're all one, and life moves all of us, together. And it's like what I've discovered in my adulthood is that, yes, this consciousness, this oneness, it moves through us all, but the containers, the bodies that it moves through are all different. So we all have a different experience inside of there. And your universe is made out of different elements than my universe. So even if I put one of my elements into your universe, it doesn't mean that you're necessarily, going to understand it. And so it's like this thing holds us separate in our differences, but together, so that we can become aware and watch and understand and grow in our consciousness. And that holding us separate in these two separate bodies, but together, humans call that love. And I think that that's so sweet and funny that being held separately but together is love. And at the end of the day, without our bodies, or even if you zoomed far enough into our bodies, you would see that when I touch your arm, we're like exchanging electrons. It's like at the end of the day, we are making auric contact and exchanging things that we cannot understand. And so while it looks like we're separate, while our experience is separate, while our experience is different, we are exchanging ourselves in this oneness all of the time. And so this is the seed of the magnetic monopole. Only attracts, never repels. I love that about this magnet that attracts by gravity. And then what happens is bigger than what we want. I think so much of the time, that's why timing is such an important factor when it comes to manifestation. It's like when I got pregnant and I had to use CBD so that we could save my unborn baby. I didn't want that. I didn't want to have to look at termination. And then when CBD worked, I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe this worked. And I was like, I'm going to, share this with others, because there's other pregnant women that have my condition, and I want to save their children. And it's like the timing of that was everything, because in that year, CBD was just being made legal. It was like brand new, and I was right on time based on my own experience. And then I was able to share that with others and help other mothers and children. And so my creation there, it was never something that I was like, oh, this is what I'm going to do. It was like I had this big scary crisis that made me uncertain and afraid for my life and the life of my child. And I just tried, I had the people around me trying to help me. They bring me CBD. It works. I start business to share. So you can see how it's so much bigger than just me. And the things that happen for us in our personal experiences, they're gifts to be shared. You know, they're not something to hide or to be ashamed of, because if you realize that they're for you, then you can receive the rewards that you get for being yourself and sharing, you know, what has occurred in your life. And so let's see, this is the potential to continue evolving. You know, it can be so hard, but the things that we receive, a lot of times, those are the places we're going to change. We can be like, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. Or we can look at our friend like, please leave him. You know, like, what are you doing? But a lot of the times the change is a product of what happens all the time, you know? And so it's just like, this is the potential to continue evolving. We respond to the things that happen, and we cannot change until that thing that happens is going to happen, so that we can, and it's this messy thing that you can't separate, that you can't blame on person, blame on anything necessarily. It's just a natural movement of what's happening. And so we get to just watch what happens. We get to watch the movement that results from what's happening. And this is something very beautiful. We get to collect our knowings as a result. You know, we get to take those and share those and be of value when we didn't set out to get that experience or be that value in the first place. And so everything about what we are going to do as a totality and where we are going to move in this life as a totality is rooted in this gate. So this is bigger than one person, right? It is individual, but it is collective, because this is where the new collective things begin. And I think that speaks on the timing and it being bigger than just any one person. So once again, this is the root of manifestation. I love that the receptive is the root of manifestation. And when we're here, we can be sad and like melancholic that manifestation isn't happening yet, right? It's like, I had my breakthrough about the consciousness shift in 2018, but I'm really just now starting to show up in a way that I think that I can actually help people with the changes that are happening. And, you know, doing that in a very public way, it's like I had to be patient. And I went through my melancholy waves. You know, it's like anytime you start anything new, or anytime that you have had to change and you're at that point looking ahead, you're like, oh my God, like, what is this going to look like? Where is this taking me? You know, like, where am I being moved to? And it's just like, if we can accept that, if we can just let ourselves be melancholic and just honor what's right in front of us, that manifestation will come at the end, and you'll be prepared, because melancholy is so creative. It'll lead you to the right things and people, to the right information that will help prepare you for when it's time to pop. And so the potential here is to receive and give direction. Receive and give. I think it's so cool that people who are made to give direction are also made to receive it. And so if you've got a leader in your life that has a hard time listening to followers or receiving, you know, also being guided, this is an essential part of direction and leadership. Let's see. And I think that's it. I think we've talked about everything else, the fact that direction is not altered by perspective, and that we can't confuse the two. You know, one is what is happening and one is how it's been seen. And I think that that's so beautiful. I think that understanding creativity and receptivity removes so much blame and shame from humans. And it can also allow us to fall into our personal relationship with life or God, or, you know, whatever your word source, because you know there is a greater functioning and that there is a perfect place that you fit with the people you fit with, and a place where your differences are valuable. You know, I think it's so beautiful to be able to see it as bigger than you, so that you can be in the thing and moved by the thing and changed by the thing, helped by the thing and helping from the thing, you know, like, I think that is living. And so I hope you guys enjoyed this. Shoot me a message if you want to talk about any of these concepts. I'm doing personal sessions right now, and I think I have 2 spots open this week. I've got more open next week. So if you're interested in that, shoot me a message. I'm also doing human design initiations. So message me about that if you have any questions about that stuff, or you want to dive into maybe what that is. I'd love to do that too. And so I hope you guys have a great night. I love you, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys.